There's an old phrase from the ancient writings that says, in due season, your harvest will come. I love that phrase. It's simple, yet it carries the whole mystery of life inside it. The idea that there is a season for everything. Planting, growing, harvesting, resting. You can't rush the seasons. You can only prepare for them. The farmer doesn't plant in January and harvest in February. He understands timing. He understands that between sowing and reaping there is waiting, watering, weeding, and believing. Life works the same way. The problem is most people want to harvest without the planting. They want success without discipline, wealth without work, love without patience, knowledge without study. But the universe doesn't operate on shortcuts. It operates on laws. The law says you reap what you sow. Not what you wish for, not what you talk about, but what you plant and nurture with consistency and faith. Your harvest will come when it is due. Not when you want it, not when you hope for it, but when it's due. And the word due is important. It means earned, deserved, matured. A harvest doesn't visit people who simply wish. It visits people who have done the work, who have honored the process. You can't fool the soil. You can't whisper into the ground, please grow me some corn, if you never planted any seed. The earth keeps perfect records. It gives back what you gave it, no more, no less. And the same is true for life. The harvest of health, wealth, wisdom, or love all come from seeds that were once invisible. That's why wise people plant early, plant deeply, and stay faithful to the process long before results appear. Some people plant in the spring and quit by summer. They say it's too hard, it's too hot, the weeds are too many. But the ones who keep tending the field, even when the sweat runs down and nobody is clapping, they're the ones who later stand in tall fields of grain and smile. Because they stayed. Because they trusted the law. Because they understood that effort compounds just like money. Every day you show up, the roots of your discipline dig deeper. You can't see it yet, but one morning the sprouts appear. And everyone calls it luck. But you and I know it wasn't luck at all. It was law. It was persistence paying its debt to patience. Now, the funny thing about planting is that it's an act of faith. You drop a seed into the ground and cover it with dirt. You can't see it anymore. You have to believe it's working beneath the surface. And isn't that just like our lives? You start a business, and for months it feels like nothing's happening. You study, you save, you practice, you call, and the world seems silent. But if you keep watering that idea, through effort, consistency, and faith, one day the little green shoot breaks through. That's one of life's great joys. Realizing the thing you thought was dead was actually alive all along, growing in secret. Faith isn't pretending to know. It's choosing to trust. We plant in the dark. We plant not knowing for sure. But we plant anyway because we've seen the harvest before. We've seen people who stayed the course and reaped the reward. Their example is our evidence. And that evidence gives us hope. Hope keeps us digging when the ground feels hard. Hope keeps us waking up early, calling one more prospect, writing one more page, doing one more rep, because we know the harvest doesn't come to the quitters. The discipline of faith is doing what must be done before results appear. You act on belief, not sight. And one day, what was once invisible becomes undeniable. So you've got to take the risk to talk, the risk to go, the risk to serve. Take the risk to give, to lead, to start the meeting, to pick up the phone. Each act of courage plants a seed. Each conversation, each effort, each day of service, it all goes into the soil. And then time takes over. Because time is the great multiplier. Time makes the seed swell, the root dig deep, the stalk rise. Your job is not to control time. It's to trust it. The person who fights time loses twice. Once in frustration and again in results. But the person who works with time, who gives patience to process, wins every season. You can have more than you've got because you can become more than you are. That's one of the greatest discoveries you'll ever make. And I'll tell you, the first time I heard that, it electrified me. I was a young man, frustrated, working hard but going nowhere. I thought the problem was the world. Taxes were too high, prices too high, opportunities too scarce. Then I met my mentor and he said, Jim, for things to change, you have to change. For things to get better, you have to get better. It was like someone flipped a switch in my mind. The moment I understood that, the world shifted from being something happening to me into something happening through me. See, if you stay how you are, you'll keep what you've got. Life is fair in that way. But if you decide to change, to grow, to learn, the next 5 years can look nothing like the last 5. That's the promise of personal development. And here's the reality. If you don't change, chances are the next 5 will look exactly like the last 5. The seasons will pass, but your life will repeat. You'll plant the same habits and reap the same results. So make the decision. Grow deliberately. Invest in yourself the way a farmer invests in his soil. Because if you keep the soil rich, it can yield harvest after harvest. Life and business are like the changing seasons. Spring always follows winter. Summer always follows spring. Autumn always follows summer. You can't rearrange that order. It's set. The seasons don't need your permission. But while you can't change the seasons, you can change yourself. That's the secret. The same wind blows on us all. The wind of opportunity and the wind of difficulty. But it's how you set your sail that determines where you end up. You can't stop the storm, but you can steer your ship. You can't control the wind, but you can adjust your attitude. That's why philosophy is more important than circumstance. So don't complain about the wind. Learn to adjust. You can't change the direction of the wind, but you can set a better sail. You can't change what happens, but you can change what you do about it. That's the turning point in a person's life. The moment they stop waiting for the world to change and start working on themselves. When you take charge of your philosophy, your attitude, and your disciplines, you stop being a victim of the seasons and start being the captain of your ship. The storms still come, but now you know how to sail through them. And that's the difference between despair and confidence. You can't change the seasons, but you can change you. You can learn how to handle the winters, how to plant in the springs, how to protect in the summers, how to reap in the falls. Once you learn that, the seasons no longer intimidate you. They empower you. You stop saying, I hope it's easier next year, and you start saying, I'll be stronger next year. That's maturity. The point when you realize the seasons aren't your enemy, they're your training ground. Every winter strengthens your resolve. Every spring rewards your faith. Every summer tests your endurance. And every autumn celebrates your consistency. I met that great teacher when I was 25, and he changed everything for me. Before him, I had 6 years of hard work and almost no progress. I had excuses. A whole book full of them. I blamed the government, the economy, my background, the breaks I didn't get. Then he told me something simple. Jim, the major key to your future is not what happens to you. It's what you happen to. That hit me deep. Because if I was the problem, then I could be the solution. And that realization changed my nights. I couldn't sleep. I was so excited. I thought if I can change myself, I can change everything. And it was true. The day I stopped blaming, I started building. From then on, I became a student of life. I stopped wishing for a different government or better prices or cheaper gasoline. I started wishing for more wisdom, more skill, more discipline. And guess what? The moment I got better, everything else got better. That's how life works. It doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you're prepared for. The soil doesn't produce what you dream about. It produces what you plant and nurture. So here's the first lesson of the harvest. Stop wishing for easy. Wish for worth it. Don't wish for less challenge. Wish for more strength. Don't wish for a lighter load. Build stronger shoulders. Because when you grow, the same seasons that used to frustrate you start working for you instead of against you. And that's when you know you've become due for your harvest. Next, once you truly understand that you are the major factor in your future, something inside you changes. The lights come on. Life gets exciting again. Before that realization, most people live like a leaf in the wind. tossed around by the economy, by other people's decisions, by luck, by weather, by gossip. They say, I hope things get better, and they wait. But waiting is not a strategy. Hoping is not a plan. The moment your life turns around is the moment you say, I'm in charge now. You realize the same wind blows on everyone. The wind of difficulty, the wind of opportunity, the wind of change. And you finally say, I can't change the wind, but I can set my sail. That simple shift from wishing for calm to mastering direction marks the start of personal leadership. That's when you stop drifting and start designing the course of your own life. The same wind that sinks one ship can push another toward its destination. The difference isn't in the wind. It's in the sailor. The drifters complain, the designers adjust. The complainers spend their lives describing the storm. The leaders spend theirs trimming the sail. The same sun that hardens clay melts butter. It's not the circumstance, it's the composition. Once you grasp that truth, you stop blaming and start building. You stop hoping that things around you will change and begin transforming the only thing you can control, yourself. Because once you change, everything else begins to look different. The winds don't get softer. You simply get stronger. When I learned that, I started to work on me. I couldn't fix taxes, but I could fix my thinking. I couldn't lower prices, but I could raise my value. I couldn't make the government efficient, but I could make myself effective. I couldn't control what others did, but I could control what I did about it. And that's when everything began to change. The best investment I ever made wasn't in a car, a company, or a piece of land. It was in me. Because what you become determines what you attract. If you want more, become more. If you want things to get better, get better. You don't get paid for your time. You get paid for the value you bring to the marketplace. And value always mirrors growth, skill, and discipline. The most important question to ask on the job isn't, what am I getting here? It's, what am I becoming here? Because what you're becoming is shaping what you'll soon be capable of doing. Don't focus on the paycheck. Focus on the person writing the paycheck. Who is he or she becoming? What skills, attitudes, and disciplines are being developed while you work? Because the better you become, the better everything around you becomes. The job, the business, the marriage, the friendships, they all improve when the person in the middle improves. Life pays for growth, not complaint. The good life doesn't arrive by luck. It shows up for the person who's been preparing for it quietly, steadily, every single day. Personal development, my friends, is the adventure of a lifetime. Once you start growing intentionally, life takes on a new color. The days feel richer because every moment is teaching you something. You stop counting hours and start counting lessons. Every conversation becomes a classroom. Every challenge becomes a coach. Every failure becomes fertilizer for the next success. The good life isn't built by chance. It's built by character. And character is built in the workshop of growth. Once you catch that fire for learning, you'll never live the same day twice. You'll live a new version of yourself every sunrise. You'll wake up excited because you're not just earning, you're becoming. So here's what I tell people. Get serious. Serious about your goals, serious about your future, serious about your skills. Casualness leads to casualties. Too many people treat their lives casually, like it's no big deal if another week passes without progress. But success doesn't respond to casual effort. It responds to serious intent. Serious means committed. Serious means consistent. Serious means you stop negotiating with your excuses and start negotiating with your potential. When I got serious about my life, everything changed. I read the books, I attended the classes, I took notes like a hungry student. I asked, what can I learn from this? Even when life was tough. When you get serious, life becomes your teacher, and every day becomes a seminar. Once you're serious, the next step is to get smart. Learn everything you can from every source you can. The more you learn, the more you earn. Not just in money, but in confidence, awareness, and influence. Learning builds capacity, and capacity attracts opportunity. But learning takes patience. You read a small book that holds 10 big ideas. You wrestle through a 500-page book that gives you only 2 or 3. Read them both. Don't get lazy with your learning. Don't say, I've already heard that. You haven't heard it until you're doing it. You haven't learned it until it's become a habit. Sometimes the greatest ideas come wrapped in the plainest packages. Life hides gold and dirt to see who's willing to dig. Be the student who listens twice as much as he speaks. Be the person who writes things down. A short pencil, I like to say, is better than a long memory. Capture what you hear, because ideas are slippery. They disappear if not caught. You'll be amazed how many fortunes are built from scribbles on napkins and notebook margins. Stay alert. Be curious. Life's a funny teacher. It whispers its best lessons through ordinary moments. A casual conversation can hold the wisdom that shifts your destiny. So keep your ears open and your ego quiet. Learning is the great equalizer. It's how the ordinary become extraordinary. Stay a student, and you'll never run out of opportunities. Then, get going, because nothing happens until something moves. The universe doesn't respond to good intentions. It responds to action. Knowledge that never leaves the notebook turns into regret. The dreamers dream, but doers build. The architect can sketch a palace, but without a bricklayer, it's still just paper. So take the first step. Don't wait for perfect conditions. They'll never come. Perfection is the enemy of progress. Start where you are with what you have and improve as you go. The seed in your hand is potential, but the seed in the ground is progress. Plant it. Learn by doing. Adjust on the way. Action opens doors that theory never will. And once you get going, don't forget to get better. That's the real game. Constant improvement. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep advancing. Each month, a little wiser. Each year, a little stronger. Get better at listening, communicating, managing emotions, leading teams, serving customers. Every day you stay the same, you fall behind. Because the world keeps moving. Improvement is the rent we pay for staying in the game. Keep refining your craft, your habits, your words, your character. You'll find that progress compounds. The smallest daily improvements turn into unstoppable momentum over time. Now, here's a word that ties it all together. Patience. Patience with others, patience with the process, patience with yourself. Don't let impatience ruin your harvest. The seed you planted in spring won't bear fruit in summer. It needs its season. Some things can't be microwaved. They must be marinated. Let the process mature you as much as it matures your results. You can't rush greatness. The man who rushes nature ends up with green fruit. Patience isn't passivity. It's trust in the laws of growth. Keep watering, keep working, keep believing. In due time, your effort and endurance will meet, and the results will show. And as you grow, remember to stay humble. Don't confuse achievement with superiority. You can be proud of your progress without being arrogant about it. The rich must learn not to be arrogant, and the poor must learn not to be cynical. Both destroy growth. Stay teachable, stay kind, stay curious. The moment you stop learning is the moment you start declining. Success can whisper lies. Don't listen. Keep the beginner's mind. Gratitude will keep your heart soft, and humility will keep your mind sharp. Because here's the truth. You can have more than you've got because you can become more than you are. But unless you change how you are, you'll always have what you've got. The day you accept that is the day your true future begins. And that's when life starts to match your potential. When you get serious, get smart, get going, and get humble, you align yourself with every law that governs success. From that point on, growth isn't an accident. It's a design. And the same wind that once tossed you about now carries you forward toward the harvest you've earned. Next, once you've made the decision to get serious and to get smart, the next great step is to get going. Because all the learning in the world, all the notes, all the seminars, all the underlines in the books, none of it means anything until you move your feet. Nothing works until you do. Action is the bridge between imagination and reality. It's what turns invisible ideas into visible results. You can stand at the edge of the field with the finest seed, the richest soil, the perfect weather, and the best intentions. But unless you take that seed and put it into the ground, there will be no harvest. And that's where most people hesitate. They wait for everything to line up. But there is no perfect time. The perfect time is now. Start before you're ready. Plant while the ground is still cold. Because it's action, not timing, that makes you ready. I remember when I started in business, I didn't have all the answers, I barely had any. But I had desire and I had courage to take the first step. And that's what matters most. You learn as you go. You make adjustments in motion. You don't build confidence first, you build confidence by doing. That's how life rewards the bold. The timid wait for proof. The brave create proof through effort. See, activity is magic. It's what transforms potential into substance. Every action you take is a signal to the universe saying, I'm serious. And the universe starts rearranging itself in your favor. People appear, doors open, circumstances bend, momentum gathers. Once you're in motion, energy multiplies. The hard part is just to start. That's why the ancient formula still works best. 6 days of labor, 1 day of rest. Don't get those numbers mixed up. It's 6 days of work, 1 of renewal. Not 6 days of rest and 1 of labor. It's a steady, daily effort that builds the foundation for greatness. You don't have to exhaust yourself, but you do have to be consistent. Be faithful to your schedule. Keep your promises to yourself. Discipline is the muscle of success. It grows every time you follow through. Every time you do what you said you would, even when you don't feel like it. Every little act of consistency strengthens your confidence and builds the bridge to your goals. The person who shows up daily, quietly, with persistence, will always outrun the person who shows up occasionally with bursts of enthusiasm. Now, after you've gotten going, the next key is to get better. The purpose of activity isn't just to stay busy. It's to grow. Don't confuse movement with progress. There's a difference between spinning your wheels and driving forward. The goal is improvement. Each year, each month, each week, find some way to upgrade your thinking, your habits, your understanding. Success doesn't demand perfection, but it demands progress. So get better at your craft. Get better at managing your emotions. Get better at listening, negotiating, leading, serving, and loving. Life is an endless opportunity to improve. And the beautiful thing is, you can start from anywhere. You don't need permission. You don't need applause. You just need a decision and a plan. Every little improvement makes you sharper and separates you from the crowd. When you commit to getting better, you become powerful in the best way. Because most people stop. Most people reach a certain level of competence and then coast. They settle for good enough. But those who keep sharpening, keep learning, keep pushing, those are the ones who stand out. Excellence isn't about talent. It's about refinement. It's about being a lifelong student, even when you become a master. Improvement is humility in motion. It says, I can always grow. That mindset is rare, but it's unstoppable. And yes, improvement will test your patience, especially if you're ambitious. We all want results today. But growth takes time. Great oak trees don't sprout overnight. They build roots before they show branches. Some growth is invisible, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. Trust the unseen process. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with your results. Be patient with others. You'll have good days and rough days, but if you keep showing up, the pieces will come together. Patience is the price of greatness. You can't bake a cake faster by turning the oven higher. You'll only burn it. Some seasons are for sowing, others for waiting. Patience teaches you that timing belongs to the laws of nature, not the impatience of man. Your job is to keep doing the right things long enough for them to work. And when they do, you'll realize the waiting was never wasted. It was working on you just as much as you were working on it. Now, while you're growing, remember this. Courage will always be required, Life will ask for boldness, the courage to start again when you fail, the courage to speak the truth when it's unpopular, the courage to believe when others doubt, the courage to change direction when the old one isn't working. Courage doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you move forward in spite of fear. You do the right thing even when your knees shake. The truth is, fear never disappears. You just learn to live above it. Every act of courage lays another brick in the foundation of your character. You'll come to see that courage, not comfort, is the birthplace of every breakthrough. And right beside courage stands humility. It's twin virtue. Humility keeps you teachable, courage keeps you moving. Arrogance makes people stop learning. It blinds you. You think you've arrived. But the moment you think you've arrived, life humbles you. So stay curious, stay grateful. The bigger your success, the more humility you'll need to hold it together. Humility doesn't make you smaller. It makes your success sustainable. And learn to compromise. Not with your principles, but with people. Work with others. Give a little so progress can continue. If everyone insists on their own way, nothing moves. Leadership is knowing when to stand firm and when to bend. Wisdom is knowing when to push and when to pause. Harmony is a form of strength. And let's talk about risk. Everything worthwhile involves risk. You risk your time, your money, your comfort, your reputation. You risk rejection and failure and disappointment. But without risk, there is no reward. You can't steal second base with one foot on first. The comfort zone feels safe, but nothing grows there. Growth lies right beyond the edge of fear. Risk is the price you pay for expansion. When you make peace with risk, you make room for miracles. Life begins again every time you step beyond your comfort. Some of you risk just by being here, choosing growth over convenience. That's the kind of risk that opens new doors. Once you've risked and you're moving, remember to rest wisely. Rest isn't laziness, it's renewal. Rest long enough to recharge, not long enough to rust. Eat enough to gain strength, not enough to slow you down. Sleep enough to restore energy, not to waste potential. Balance is part of discipline. The rhythm of work and rest sustains your power. Action builds the world, but rest keeps the builder alive to enjoy it. Civilizations are built on 6 days of labor and 1 day of reflection. That rhythm creates mastery. And here's a final warning. Beware procrastination. It's subtle. It feels harmless. You say, I'll do it tomorrow. But tomorrow becomes next week, then next month, and soon you're out of years. The danger of delay is that it steals silently. It doesn't announce itself. It just takes your future 1 day at a time. But there's a cure, and it's purpose. When your purpose is clear, you can't sit still. A person on fire doesn't procrastinate. Purpose kills hesitation. So find your reason, light it up, and act. Start today. Get going, get better, get braver. The same wind that once resisted you will soon carry you. And one day you'll look up and realize you're sailing straight toward the harvest that's been waiting for you all along. Next. Now that you've set sail and you're moving, the great challenge becomes staying the course. And doing it with patience, courage, and discipline. Those three together form the backbone of every great life. They sound simple, but they take a lifetime to master. Patience to let time do its work. Courage to keep going when the winds turn cold. Discipline to stay consistent when the mood fades. These are not gifts you're born with. They're muscles you build. And if you build them, you can face any season, any storm, any setback. They become the anchor that steadies you when everything else is shaking. They make you dependable, consistent, and unshakable. And that, my friends, is rare currency in a world addicted to shortcuts and instant rewards. Let's start with patience. Most people think patience means waiting and doing nothing. Not true. Patience means working consistently, faithfully, while trusting the process. The farmer doesn't sit on the porch staring at the field. He still waters weeds and guards the crop. He just doesn't demand the fruit before it's ripe. Patience is confidence in slow miracles. It's saying, I trust the law of the harvest. I've done my part. Now I'll let time and nature do theirs. When you understand that, anxiety starts to fade. You stop pacing and start planting because you realize that delay isn't denial. It's development. Every seed needs its time beneath the soil before it breaks through the surface. Patience allows invisible progress to become visible without interference. So pray for patience. Ask for it daily. Because impatience ruins more dreams than failure ever could. We rush the process, we dig up our seeds to see if they're growing, and in the process we kill them. Patience lets unseen forces finish their work. Be patient with people, with projects, with your progress. Be patient with your family, your friends, and especially yourself. You're not supposed to get it all right on the first try. You're supposed to grow into it. We're all in progress, not perfection. Patience gives you peace in that process. It's what lets you breathe through the uncertainty and say, I'm still on my way. Because patience isn't about waiting longer. It's about waiting better. With faith, gratitude, and steady hands. Now let's talk about courage. Patience is calm strength. Courage is active strength. Courage is what gets you out of bed when faith feels small. It's the decision to show up one more time even when you've been knocked down. Every new chapter of your life will demand a new level of courage. And here's the truth. You'll never feel ready for it. You'll never wake up fearless. You just have to step forward while you're afraid. That's the secret. The act of movement dissolves the fear. You can't think your way into courage. You have to act your way into it. Each time you move, despite the fear, you tell yourself, I'm bigger than what scares me. And that builds confidence. Not the loud kind, but the quiet kind that anchors you through every storm. Courage is what lets you make tough calls. The courage to change direction when the road you're on isn't leading anywhere. The courage to start again when you've failed. The courage to confront truth when it's uncomfortable. The courage to admit you were wrong and to make it right. Courage isn't arrogance. It's honesty in motion. It's not loud or flashy. It's that still, steady voice that whispers, try again tomorrow. And the more you listen to that voice, the stronger it becomes. Courage is the parent of growth. Without it, you stay stuck in the same story. With it, you write a new one every year. Fear doesn't leave. It just loses its power when courage walks in. Now, discipline. That's the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Discipline is doing what you should do, even when you don't feel like it. Feelings are fickle. Discipline is faithful. Discipline builds trust with yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your confidence grows. And confidence is the spiritual fuel of achievement. People often ask, Jim, how do I get more confidence? Simple. Keep the promises you make to yourself. Get up when you said you would. Study what you said you'd study. Finish what you said you'd finish. Each small victory builds strength. And strength is what gives you freedom. Because discipline and freedom are twins. One creates the other. The undisciplined life is slavery in disguise. The disciplined life is freedom earned. Now let's weave these three together. Patience, courage, and discipline. And see what kind of person emerges. Patience teaches you timing. Courage teaches you action. Discipline teaches you consistency. When you combine those three, you become unstoppable. You may not be the smartest, the richest, or the fastest, but you'll outlast everyone who quits when it's hard. And that's who life rewards. Life doesn't always reward talent. It rewards tenacity. The person who stays steady through the seasons will always reap the harvest that the impatient never see. Patience steadies your heart. Courage moves your feet. Discipline carries your work to completion. Together, they make you durable in a fragile world. Let me tell you a story. A young salesman once came to me frustrated. He said, Mr. Ron, I've been calling prospects for 3 months and nothing's happening. I asked how many calls. He said, about 50. I smiled. 50? Son, you haven't even started. Try 500. Try 5,000. He looked stunned. But that's life. Volume matters. Consistency matters. The world doesn't open its doors to effort that's occasional. It opens to effort that's persistent. The marketplace pays for momentum. People trust those who show up again and again, even when it's slow. That's how you earn reputation, respect, and reward. Through endurance. Patience, courage, discipline. That's the trio that turns effort into excellence. And don't forget humility. No matter how high you climb, stay humble enough to keep learning. Arrogance is the enemy of growth. The poor must be taught not to be cynical. The rich must be taught not to be arrogant. Both destroy progress. Humility keeps you teachable. It reminds you that wisdom can come from anywhere. The janitor, the child, the stranger on the street. Humility says, I've come far, but I can still learn. And that keeps you fresh. Success without humility collapses under its own weight. But success wrapped in humility becomes legacy. It lasts beyond you. Another companion of these virtues is balance. Patience doesn't mean laziness. Courage doesn't mean recklessness. Discipline doesn't mean rigidity. Each must harmonize with the others. Too much patience without courage becomes passivity. Too much courage without wisdom becomes chaos. Too much discipline without rest becomes burnout. The key is balance. Firm hands, soft heart. A wise person knows how to flex without breaking. Strength doesn't mean hardness. It means control. You don't win by being stubborn. You win by being stable. Now let's talk about the courage to rest. Yes, rest takes courage. In a world that glorifies hustle, it takes confidence to pause without guilt. Rest is not quitting. Rest is preparing. Even the earth rests. After harvest, the ground lies still. Renewal is part of rhythm. Don't work so hard that you forget why you started. Rest long enough to recharge, not long enough to rust. Eat enough to gain energy, not enough to slow you down. Sleep enough to renew strength, not to escape life. Balance is wisdom in motion. The purpose of rest is not laziness. It's longevity. And while you're practicing these virtues, beware their enemy, procrastination. It's sneaky because it feels harmless. I'll do it later, you say. And later becomes never. Each day you delay, the weeds in your field grow thicker. Enough of those days, and your dreams get buried under the weight of excuses. Don't let that happen. Develop a bias for action. When an idea hits you, write it down. When opportunity knocks, open the door. When responsibility calls, answer. Action turns ideas into assets. Delay turns ideas into dust. Every day of procrastination is a day of lost potential. But every day of discipline is a deposit toward your future. The good news is you don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep improving. Keep showing up. Keep pushing forward. The same patience that slows you down will also sustain you. The same courage that shakes you will shape you. The same discipline that exhausts you will eventually empower you. That's the paradox of greatness. The very things that wear you out in the moment are building the strength you'll need for the future. One day you'll look back and realize all those small acts of consistency built a life of strength, character, and abundance. So have patience for the process, courage for the obstacles, and discipline for the journey. Because that combination will guarantee that in due season, your harvest will surely come. Lastly, when we bring everything together, the laws of the seasons, the discipline of planting, the patience of waiting, and the courage of action, we arrive at one of life's deepest truths. The world runs by law. Everything in existence, from the stars above to the soil beneath, operates by principles that don't bend for opinions. You don't have to like these laws, but you must learn them. because those who live by principle will always rise above those who live by preference. These laws aren't hidden in secret books. They're written everywhere, in nature and history and experience. The law of gravity, the law of sowing and reaping, the law of cause and effect, the law of belief and behavior, they govern everyone equally. The person who jumps off the roof doesn't get a pass because he's kind. Gravity doesn't discriminate. Neither does the harvest. If you plant corn, you won't reap pumpkins. If you plant laziness, you won't reap prosperity. Life gives back exactly what you hand it. I call this the setup, because we didn't design it, but we do have to live in it. You don't have to agree with every law of the universe to make it work for you, just like you don't have to like electricity to benefit from it. You just have to respect how it works. You can't curse the socket and still expect light. You can't violate the laws of effort and discipline and expect success to bless you by accident. Learn the setup. That's how you stop being surprised by life. You see, most people live in constant frustration, not because life is unfair, but because they're uninformed. They keep planting one thing and expecting another. They keep breaking the law of preparation and wondering why opportunity won't visit. But the universe is perfectly consistent. It just requires that you be consistent too. Why do we study? So we don't get hurt. Ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is expensive. It's poverty, it's missed opportunity. It's the unnecessary repetition of pain. The uninformed pay dearly, in time and money and peace. So learn the setup to navigate safely. Understand how people work, how money flows, how emotions rise and fall, how habits form, how belief directs behavior. These are not mysteries. They are mechanics. You don't have to like them, but you must master them. The more you understand, the fewer painful surprises you'll have. And here's the second reason to learn. Not just to avoid pain, but to attract prosperity. Life isn't just minus, it's also plus. There are laws that govern joy, wealth, love, and fulfillment just as surely as there are laws that govern laws. But they only open up for those who study how they work. And change. Oh, change. It rarely happens in an explosion. People imagine transformation as a lightning strike. But real change is quiet, patient, steady. It happens by altering small things consistently. A thought here, a habit there, a choice today, a better one tomorrow. Little by little, the ship turns. One day you wake up, look back, and realize you've become someone entirely new. You didn't leap. You evolved. That's the beauty of growth. It sneaks up on you, but only if you've been faithful to the process. That's why I tell people, don't underestimate a single day of effort. It may look ordinary, but compounded over time, it becomes extraordinary. The big life is always built out of small daily disciplines done long enough to matter. That's how personal development works. You start nudging yourself in the right direction. You start keeping promises to yourself. You start controlling what you can. Your mind, your words, your actions, and letting go of what you can't. The weather, the economy, other people's moods. Over time, the results compound. Because growth is the compound interest of effort. One small improvement per day adds up to a transformed life in a few short years. That's why I tell people, the major key to your better future is you. Not your job, not the government, not the company, not the economy. Just you. The more valuable you become, the more valuable your life becomes. People often ask me, Jim, can we change the world? And I say, maybe not. But you can change yourself, and that will change your world. You can't calm the storm, but you can strengthen the sailor. You can't stop winter, but you can prepare your firewood. Don't wish for easier winters. Wish for better preparation. Don't wish for lighter burdens. Build stronger backs. The storms will come. They always do. But the difference between drowning and sailing is skill. And that's what personal development gives you. Skill for the storms. It's not about avoiding the challenges. It's about becoming the kind of person who can thrive in the middle of them. That's why personal development isn't a luxury. It's survival. It's how you turn chaos into confidence, confusion into clarity. If you build yourself strong enough, no circumstance can defeat you. The same pressure that breaks glass can form diamonds. The difference isn't in the pressure. It's in the material. Strength of character turns pressure into polish. Weakness turns it into cracks. The goal is to become the kind of person who can handle whatever the world throws your way. Because when you do, life stops being something you endure and starts being something you master. Now, here's the secret. Inspiration starts it, but perspiration sustains it. Wishing is a beginning, but doing is the bridge. Affirmations are the spark, but habits are the fire. You can sit and say, I'm going to change all day long. But unless that declaration becomes daily discipline, nothing changes. You can't talk your way into a new life. You have to walk your way into it. The smallest consistent action beats the biggest intention. Start small. Start today. Start with what's in front of you. Wake up 10 minutes earlier, read 5 pages, call one more client, write one more thank you note. Do something daily that moves the needle forward. That's how you plant new habits. And habits are the machinery of destiny. And don't expect the old you to cheer for the new you. Change threatens comfort. Your old habits will fight for survival. They'll whisper, take it easy. You've done enough. But every time you push past that voice, it weakens. Every day you persist, it fades. Growth hurts before it feels good. Transformation costs before it pays. But I promise you, every step forward is worth it. Because one day the old you will be unrecognizable. Replaced by the stronger, wiser, freer version you built brick by brick. That's when you'll know. Change didn't happen to you. It happened through you. I often say life is about learning the seasons and then mastering yourself within them. You can't change winter, but you can bring more wood for the fire. You can't make spring longer, but you can plant more seeds. You can't stop the heat of summer, but you can tend your crops. You can't delay autumn, but you can prepare your barns. That's the rhythm of life. Not control, but cooperation. The wise learn to work with the seasons, not against them. That's why I say the good life is never luck. It's design. It's built by understanding the laws, by honoring the process, and by keeping your promises to your future. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. Just improve what you touch each day. One better decision, one kinder word, one wiser reaction, one disciplined choice. Small hinges swing big doors. And as we close, remember, the laws of life never fail. The seed you plant, the effort you give, the attitude you hold. It all comes back multiplied. That's why I say don't wish for easy. Wish for worth it. Don't wish for less challenge. Wish for more skill. Don't wish for fewer problems. Wish for greater wisdom. Because when you grow strong enough, the same winds that once blew against you will start pushing you forward. The same world that once felt hostile will begin to work in your favor. And when that happens, you'll know. You've learned to live by law, not by luck. So go plant the seed, tend the soil, keep the faith. Because in due season, your harvest will surely come. And it will be worth every patient day, every courageous act, and every disciplined hour you gave along the way.